Herzlich willkommen to episode 37 of German 365. My name is Julia, and today we will talk about contractions used with prepositions. Those are common, especially in spoken German, but you will see them also in writing. So I'm going to go through a little slideshow with you, and I hope this will clarify all the questions you've had. I do want to point out that some contractions I left out simply because they're more used in certain regions or part of dialects. Here, these are the most common ones that I'm going to talk about with you. But let's first of all review the prepositions that we've had. So we had the accusative prepositions. Make sure you know those. We have the dative prepositions. Also make sure that you know those. Genitive, of course, that are often forgotten. And our wonderful two-way prepositions that can be either dative if they're static and now not showing any movement, or accusative if they do show movement in the situation that you're using them in. So if you haven't studied them yet, now is your chance to go back and do that. And then of course know your articles, because if you don't know your articles, then you're not applying the changes and then you don't know. And then you also can't really do the contractions correctly. And the good thing is with the contractions, they're only occurring really with the accusative and the dative cases. So you also really need to know only those two. But of course, the genitive should not be forgotten as it is oftentimes. All right, so let's look at the first contraction. We have the preposition von and the dative dem, which create vom. For example, das habe ich vom Papa. I got this from daddy. So here we contract von and dem to vom. Zu can work the same way with dem, zum, and it can also be contracted with der, zur. So we have the example here, wir gehen zum Sport, we're going to the sport, or die Kinder gehen zur Schule, the kids go to school. And we see the two contractions used. Next we have bei, and that contracts with dem to beim. And war beim Arzt. So you're kind of swallowing the D and the E, and you just contract it with the beim. In can also be contracted with dem to im, and it can also be contracted with das to ins. For example, we have ich bin im Schwimmbad, I'm at the pool, or ich gehe ins Schwimmbad, I'm going to the pool. So either we're there, static, or we're going there, accusative. Ties back to the two-way prepositions actually. So an, similarly, we have an dem, am, and an das, ans. And we can have the example, ich bin am Wochenende zurück, I'm back on the weekend, or ihr denkt nur ans Essen, all you think about is food. So we have the contractions in use. Next would be unter. Unter dem is unterm, or unter das is unters. And now we see that we can use it with die Katze ist unterm Tisch, or der Hund rennt unters Bett. And then we have a more colloquial use here for über and dem, which is überm, more used in speaking than it is in writing. And then übers with the accusative contraction. Der Vogel fliegt überm Haus, or der Vogel fliegt übers Haus. Review the two-way prepositions if you don't really know what the difference here is. And then we have durch and das turns into durchs. And the example sentence, sie schwimmt durchs Wasser. She's swimming through the water. So there's a good example of that. And für plus das, fürs. Mit dem Beispiel, das Päckchen ist fürs Kind. The package is for the child. And and das create ums. And that's really, I would not use that in writing, I would always spell it out. But wir laufen ums Haus would be one example where you see it used. They're really not that difficult. It's just a matter of knowing your prepositions, knowing the cases they go with, knowing the the articles and then the appropriate contractions that they form, and then you're all good to go. So they definitely spare you some confusion if you haven't heard about them yet, or if you haven't really ever thought about how they come about. So I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and keep on studying.